I'll tell you a little story why this prompted me to look at this. I was watching I'm going to go with a lot of sports metaphors, mostly football, not down UK, Barcelona type football where the 300-pound lineman kind of football. So I was watching Bill Belichick, and somebody asked him a question about long snappers. And he did a 10-minute dissertation on a role in a football game where it's only used maybe once to 4 times in a game, how important a long snapper is. And I said, you know what, I've seen this working in helping try to people buy a business. I've seen this situation where they don't succeed. And I found that 97% of people that start to buy business raise their hand, go, I want to buy a business. I want to change my life. I want to get wealthy. I want to, buy time. I want to do all of this, just never are able to do it. They fail at it. And I try to analyze what, how, and why that happened. So that's what this webinar is. And we're going to break it down in each section of what an entrepreneur is supposed to be doing and what their real role is. It's just not to go buy a business. It's dumping. It's more about being a coach on a field. I don't care if you're soccer or football or volleyball or basketball. Everyone has a coach to show them how to do something that they've never done before. And that's what I'm going to show you a little bit what I've learned. Let's go to the next stage. 97% of people that try to buy a business fail. 3 out of 10 ever cross the finish line to make that deal happen. And here's what makes the difference. The answer lies in your ability to assess your strengths and confront your weaknesses and take action. Everybody's probably heard the fact that you're only as strong as your weakest link in the chain. That's right. If you're playing football and you've got a weak line, your quarterback is going to get sacked all the time because they're just going to blitz. And the same thing with attacking on a soccer field. Look, if you've got a weak line there, they're just going to attack and shoot. So this is going to be interactive. And Scott asked, why listen to me? Well, I bought and sold 3 businesses. I've had 100 plus students at dealflowsystem.net. They bought the courses and some of them bought the one-on-one. I've interviewed over 150 business buyers. Many of them, the bulk of them, are serial acquirers. And with this interviews, I've interviewed pretty much all of the coaches. Carl Allen, he's been doing this for a year. Michael Byers, he's in and out of the teaching business. Walker Dybel, he is on to new and bigger things, raising capital for bigger acquisitions. Richard Parker, he's the OG. He started 30 years ago selling a product called How to Buy a Good Business for, I think, $99. I have that on an old computer. It's just a CD that he sent me. Adam Coffey, he's in private equity, does billion-dollar deals. He's done over almost $3 billion of deals. He usually works with people that already have a business and start a roll-up because there's a lot of arbitrage. You move up the multiples pyramid with that. Jared Krause, he's from Australia. Sebastian Miva, he's in Latin America. Daniel Sweet out of Texas. Ted Leverett in Florida. These guys have all been helping people buy business. I've had conversations with them, and they all tell me, most of the people that go through this never buy a business. And I found the same thing doing it with dealflowsystem.net. I found the same thing interviewing 150 business buyers. And I found some traits that those 150 business buyers are able to show. Does that answer your question, Scott? All right. So the first section, so it's an estimate based on my experience. That is correct. Yeah. And I'll tell you, the 3% that I talk to that are on my podcast or on all the other podcasts, they have a special kind of background with them that you can see that carries from one to the next one. And we're going to get into that. So the first stage is, have you ever done it before? How comfortable are you with different stages of acquiring a business? Deal sourcing, light due diligence, valuation, negotiation, and integration. I mean, if you have any experience before in doing this, that's one of the deals. So on each of these questions, I'm going to show you that this is all about marshaling resources. Like if you've ever coached, my son's on a football team, he's high school football, he's not a starter, but I'll tell you what, if you took all of the 6 to 7 coaches on the field away, the lineman coach, the running back coach, the quarterback coach, the receivers coach, if you took those people out, their win-loss record would be 0-10. You just need coaches through this that have done it before. If you've had zero expenses ever doing this before, it's going to be difficult. I'm not saying you can't do it, but it will be difficult. The first one is always the hardest. It's like trying to date, your first dating experience, like the emotions are high, anxiety's high, excitement's real high. But after your 4th or 5th or 10th date, and you're dating girls, you're in college, like you're seeing girls all the time, or after college, boy, it's a lot different. Now you're starting to plan ahead. Like, hey, what do you want to do in this date package, right? Or what do you want to take her on a boat? You want to take her on a restaurant? It's a lot different with the emotions and going on. Being able to marshal resources and doing something you've never done before, whether it's deal sourcing, due diligence, integration, have you done it before? It's kind of a yes or no question. All right. Would you describe your current ability to generate consistent deal flow for potential acquisitions, both on and off market? This is the biggest stumbling block I see with every student that I've ever had. It's deal flow, right? There are 2 types of deal flow. There's on market, which is through the broker system or maybe Axial or business brokers, wherever it looks like. Those are people that have identified they want to sell a business. They are motivated to sell the business. They're at a plan. And if it's a pretty good business broker, they have signed a rational valuation on it. So those 2 thresholds have been met. But the problem with on market is they're operating on their speed. They're not operating on your speed. You say, if I want a business in Tucson, Arizona, and I want an accounting firm doing $2 million in revenue, that's not going to happen very often. There are 5 business brokers. There's Poe, there's accounting practice sales. There's only 5. And they're not out there looking specifically for Tucson for you. They're looking for people that are motivated to sell, and it could be all around the country. So that's not going to work to give you enough on-market deal flow. The second part of that is off-market deal flow. I mean, if you move up the ladder, most private equity firms are very familiar with off-market deal flow. They know how to deal source. They usually hire a deal source origination team, whether they're sending emails, whether they're sending direct mail, whether they're sending books out, whether they're doing podcasts. Both of these things have to be in place for you to have sufficient deal flow. And you have to have you got to be looking at about 5 to 10 deals a week. Are they good deals, bad deals? Because guess what? Most deals are bad deals. They're unfundable, unfinanceable. You're just not going to be able to do them. And if you've never done that before, and if you've never created that volume of deal flow, it's going to take you a long time to find this. So that's one thing. Understanding what you need in deal flow to be able to find a good deal. 9 out of 10 deals you see are bad. You're going to say, no. Good deal. Let's put our resources. Let's put our funding. Let's go get the SBA loan. Let's go raise the down payment. Whatever it is, you need a lot of those. You're going to try to rationalize and create sandcastles in the sky about this one deal. You're going to try to make it work. It's just not going to do that. So deal flow, really important at the top of the funnel. That funnel comes in, all that comes in. You need sufficient deal flow for this to happen. This is probably at the start one of the biggest problems I see. People get in, they start heavy, massive action. All right. And then 1-2 months in, it's down to looking at 1 deal, 2 deals. Oh gosh, now it goes 1 to 2 deals a month. And then they just drop out. So you have to create sufficient deal flow for yourself. All right, Anthony Rambod, have you seen better success landing deal with on or off market deals? It's on market deal flow, because these guys, if you're going on market, they're a motivated seller, and if they're a good business broker, they have a rational price, right? I mean, if you look at Quiet Liat, they do a lot of online sales and they have a rational price, right? It's usually 3x to 4x. If you go to Flippa, Flippa sells lower end businesses, high end businesses, but they have a price that they usually sell at. They've sold thousands and thousands of deals, and you'll see the valuation. It's not going to be 6x. It's not going to be 10x. It's usually about 2.5, at the most 5. So if you're seeing, past 5 on a broker dealer network, there's got to be a really specific reasons for that, right? Reoccurring revenue, 90% margins, been in business 15 years, enduringly profitable. Special cases for anybody buy that. But usually it's, in SMB territory, it's 2 to 4, something like that, multiples. That's what they'll trade at. All right, let's go to the next one. How comfortable are you conducting due diligence on a business? Understanding what a good deal is versus a bad deal. Do you have the experience, a process, or team in place to ensure you don't miss any red flags during the evaluation? So I'm talking about light due diligence. I'm not talking about hiring a forensic accountant going, oh my God, they've had fraud. I'm just talking about light due diligence, talking about very simple things like, do you know what the financial report cards they ask for, right? I need to have the income statement, I need to have the balance sheets, and I need to have the cash flow statements. But I need context for each one of those. I need 2 to 3 years of income statements. I need at least 2 balance sheets, same date, closing date as the income statements. And the cash flow statement, same as the balance sheet. And I got to make sure the books are balanced, right? That the net income on the income statement for the closing date is the same number on the balance sheet as net income. That means the books are balanced. I have a higher sense of integrity with the books when they're balanced. Are they done on QuickBooks or are they done on spreadsheets? All of this is like light due diligence, right? And understanding what a good deal is versus a bad deal. So what is a good deal? A good deal actually is the definition is it fundable, right? If I'm going to put some debt on this with an SBA loan, is it financeable? I kind of look for, if you're looking on the balance sheet, you know what the debt is, you know what the cash flow is, like, can I buy this business and can the cash flow handle the debt payments? That's a good deal if it's debt service coverage ratio of 2.0 or greater. If you move up the ladder to private equity, it's always going to be 2.0. Down lower, you're going to get a lot of SBA lenders and say, we'll do it at 1.25. We'll do it at 1.5. I'll tell you right now, that's a little dangerous. Small, lower deals in SMB land are much, much riskier. That's why they get higher multiples as you move up. The lower multiples just mean it's riskier. So a good deal is something that can be funded through SBA down payment. A bad deal is the opposite. And we want to say bad deal quite often because 9 out of the 10 deals we look at are a no. And then the last one, do you have an experienced process and team ensuring you don't miss any red flags? Red flags on the balance sheet, right? Where's the debt? Why is there a lot of debt on here? Is the debt from outside sources used to fund, prop up the business? Yes or no? You have to got to be able to know that. You have to be able to look at the income statement and see where some extraordinary high expenses are. Like, why are you spending $57,000 a month on like insurance? What's going on there? So you have to be able to look through those financial report cards and say yes or no on that one. That is like the language of business is accounting, and you really got to know what that looks like. All right, let's go on to the next one. How confident are you identifying potential risks such as hidden liabilities or market weaknesses? Now, this is the hidden liabilities we talked about a little bit. Like, if you look on the balance sheet, there's a lot of debt on there. Where's that debt coming from? Is it outside investors? And why is that debt there? Is it old debt? Is it new debt? Is it used to prop up the business? We have to be able to identify that. Market weaknesses. Always look at this. If everybody knows Warren Buffett, but Berkshire Hathaway was one of the first businesses he bought when he started the Berkshire Hathaway business. It was a textile business. And the textile business was losing profitability year in, year out. It was a cigarette butt business. You have to look at these businesses going, is it enduringly profitable or is it a trend? There's a lot of e-commerce businesses out there are trends. They're great. You can grow them for 5 years, but will it be around for another 5 years, right? Is it a need or is it a want? You have to identify those market weaknesses, kind of have a good sense of where the market's going. Recently, I've interviewed 3 people that have bought accounting businesses. And is there a lot of threats coming from AI? Yeah, absolutely. Because I already know of 5 AI packages that are designed for accounting. Now, however, they're not going to displace, and this is my opinion, Intuit, because I worked at Intuit 5 years. They've already working in an AI solution for that. It's hard to transition somebody off of QuickBooks onto another accounting package. More likely, these AI packages will be very niche and growing for a specific type of business growing. Now, that doesn't mean this new niche of businesses couldn't be, $100 billion opportunity. We don't know. So you have to be able to identify where that's going, because let's say if you're, you want to buy the business and it takes $300,000 or $500,000 for down payment, you only have $100,000. You're $400,000 short. You got to go out to investors to help you out, right? And you're going to put a pitch deck together and go, hey, this is a good deal. You're going to make 30% on your money. You're going to get a 2-point step up. You're going to get a coupon. You're going to be all of these things. And they're going to go, yeah, that business is not going to be around for a while. That's trendy. That's like an e-commerce business. It's trendy. Not interested in it, right? They want to know that they're going to get paid that 30% IRR over a 5-year, maybe 7-year period. So you have to be able to understand what that market weakness looks like. All right, let's go on to the next one. How do you handle the emotional side of making high-stakes decisions, especially when it involves money and time? Now, let me give you my personal experience here. When you sign an SBA 7A loan, you're signing a personal guarantee. If you live in a community property state, your wife is on that personal guarantee. You're putting your financial assets on the line. A lot 7A loans, I think there's a 1% or 1.2, something like that. It's not really high. I don't know what the exact number is. It's not very high, but there's a very small default rate. Once you go out there putting your money on the line and just putting all your chips in the table, that can be very stressful. Maybe not for you specifically, but your wife's involved, especially if you're a community property state. So you have to get buy-in from all the players in your family. All right, so that's a high-stake decision, and that could kill a deal. And I have seen a deal because I put a student. Now she was one of my students. She was only with me for a month, and she brought one deal to my Pass or Pursue group meeting, and the one deal looked bad. She goes, but I have another one here I want to show you. And she goes, they're selling blinds. She's in New Jersey. The company's in New Jersey. And I go, great. What are they making? They're making about 1.2 million top line, and they're making over $500,000 net income. That's interesting. How long they've been around? Over 30 years. Wow, this looks like a good deal. How much are they selling it for? 1.8, $750,000. Whoa, this looks like really good deal to look at. Let's get the balance sheets. Let's get the IRS 1120s. We take a look at the balance sheets. They're clean. The books are balanced. They've done a good job. The owners are over 73. They want to retire. We get the income statement, 1120. My God, $570,000 plus year in, year out for 3 years. This is a great business. Put an LOI together, like simultaneously get your LOI together and, get them on the phone. Let's start having this conversation. And she got the LOI. They signed it, and she started through the process. And she had a change of heart. She did the due diligence with a forensic accountant. Everything was clean there. She got an attorney with the asset purchase agreement, and that was ready to be signed. It was in her inbox. And then she called me and said, "Hey, we're going to back out. I just found out I'm pregnant with my second child. We just don't think we can take on this anxiety." So they changed her mind. That's the emotional side of it. That's part of this business, like why 97% never go to the 3%. And so that's just one of them. All right, let's go on to the next one. Have you secured financing for a business acquisition before? Now, what's your experience been with lenders, investors viewing you as a risk? And so that the first start is you find a good deal. Is it financeable? Let's say it's a 2.0 debt service coverage ratio. Like the books are balanced, everything looks clean. You looked at the IRS 1120s, they're beautiful. You know, it's throwing off a lot of income. Now you're going to go find some lenders, right? There's a lot of lenders out there. Interest rates are going. Jerome Powell just dropped 50 basis points. You may see something with a good interest rate, but is your credit score good? Is it over 670, 760, 800? Do you have any money saved, right? How are you going to finance that stuff? There's a lot of new things happening today. If you're looking to buy a $2 million business, that's what the enterprise value is. The SBA lender is going to put 80% down, and you're needing $160,000. You only have 80. What are you going to do? Where are you going to get the other 80? You don't have a lot of friends and family that want to put up the money because you've kind of been an entrepreneur, you failed, and you don't have any respect in your hometown. No, nobody has it, or you just don't have it. Where are you going to get that, right? Do you have any experience going out to investors on LinkedIn, on SearchFunder, on mainshares.com, create a pitch deck, reaching out to these investors and telling them, hey, this is a good deal. You're going to get your money back plus 30% per year, IRR. Do you have any experience doing that? Now, today is a little bit different than it was 5 years ago. There's a new company out there called mainshares.com. They will help you raise the down payment. They've done a lot of deals so far, from raising a couple $100,000 to $800,000 for down payments. This is a brand new asset class, and they're reaching out to investors, say, hey, look, this is what we're looking at. You're probably getting a 20 to 30% IRR. You're going to get a coupon. It's an HVAC company. And, if it's smart money, the guy that's investing will be ex-HVAC. Sometimes it's not smart money, where it's like, oh, it's a real estate agent and you're working on an e-commerce business, or it's a doctor and you're working on something else. So there's a lot of opportunity today with some new tools and some new asset class broker dealer networks. Anyway, what's your experience with lenders, investors? Once you understand how to raise money, you can actually buy a bigger business that is a lot less risk. That's what I'm trying to share with you here. All right, let's go on to the next one. In previous negotiations, have you ever felt outmatched by experienced parties? Have you ever ensured that you got favorable terms, especially when dealing with seasoned sellers? A lot of people right here are going to think, oh, we're talking about you've got to be the greatest negotiator in the world. Nah, that's not really what I'm talking about. I'm talking about soft negotiation skills. And here's what I mean. Go back to my student that was buying the blinds company. When she called up the broker and asked to get a face-to-face meeting, I said, look, let's find out a little bit about the seller. They're 75 years old. Their kids are out. They don't want the business. They have grandkids and they love them. They just want to spend more time with them. I told my student, here's what I want you to do. Get your husband and get your newborn, the recent one, not the second one, and take them to the meeting. They fell in love with the kid and they fell in love with the buyers. And that's why they signed the LOI. They actually got probably, I think, 5 other offers because it was such a great deal. And they picked her because they saw her in them, or they saw them in her. That's what I'm saying. So the second thing, anecdotal story I want to tell you is one of the interviews I did, he's bought some foundries in the Midwest. And what he did to get the deal was he actually drove 6 hours to meet face-to-face with the seller. And the seller told him, yeah, I got 5 other offers. Some of them were higher, but you were the only one that drove and saw me face-to-face and met me and was interested in the business. They were all interested. They're all willing to pay me more, but you're the only one that came face-to-face. This is what I'm talking about, soft negotiation skills. You're not going to, in the other time, when you get to like off-market deals, you have a better chance of getting seller financing and what that creative financing looks like. But usually your balance sheet needs to be a lot higher and stronger because you can put more risk on them. I'm talking about soft negotiation skills, people to people, personality, relationships win. All right. Do you already have a network of professionals like brokers, lenders, or advisors that you can rely on the acquisition process? Yeah, this is like assembling a team. Let's say if I was going to put together the Los Angeles Lakers, they needed everybody. Everybody's too old. You got to get them. So what do I need? I need a rebounder. I need somebody to dribble the ball. I need somebody the shooter. I need enforcer. I need all the whole team together, and they all good at those skills. So do you have a lot of brokers that you work with that kind of work sometimes in your back pocket, want to help you out? Do you have your SBA lenders set up? Like if you're looking for e-commerce businesses, do you have your SBA lenders that want to work in e-commerce? A lot of them don't. A lot of them don't like the e-commerce business because there's no collateral. Or advisors, right? I'm talking about accountants that can do forensic or light due diligence, or somebody that's been in the industry can look at a deal and say, that's a good deal, that's a bad deal. So this is a network of professionals putting your team together, marshaling resources. Let's go on to the next one. When you've been in complex, fast-moving situations, how do you manage information overload? Now, when you first start out taking massive action, you know what this looks like, right? You go to all these broker dealers and you ask for the NDA. You sign it, you ask for the NDA. Sometimes they send it to you, sometimes they don't. Sometimes you got to go reach out on X, or sometimes you've got to reach out on LinkedIn and say, hey, I'm interested in that business. Can you send me the gosh darn it? And they do, they send it back, and then they take a while to send this in. So this whole business is like needs a CRM system, so you understand where you're looking at in that. Now, if it's a good deal on a broker dealer network, a lot of these deals are going to go pretty fast if it's a good valuation. If it's a good deal, it's going to go fast. I was on Axial yesterday, and there was an email marketing company that did $3.5 million top line, $2.5 million bottom line. 2 days ago, or I just checked yesterday, and they took it off Axial. Is it for sale? I don't know, but they already took it off. Some of these deals go fast. You need to be in place in the game to be able to take advantage of these games, these deals. Does anybody know Garage Monkey? I can't remember the show of it. The guy bought old cars, hot rods, and refurbished them, sold them. The advice I took, Gas Monkey Garage. Yeah, thanks, Scott. His dad told him, and I said, son, if you're going to get good at this business, you need to bring a wad of cash with you when you're going to somebody's house and looking at a 67 Camaro. You got to have it ready, because they're going to you can't go away and goes, yeah, I like it, let me go get a loan and I'll come back and get it. It's going to be gone. You need to have all of these, your team, in ready to go and pounce when you see a good deal. And you never know what that's going to look like, because you're going through 9 bad deals. So that's that. Let's go on to the next one. Now, this is I'm getting down to the end. I'm going to open the questions, but having a great credit score means 2 things. You're ready to go. You're going to get an SBA loan. If you don't have a great credit score, you got to go couple directions there, right? You can either take the time to improve it, to get it past 670, I think it is, or you're going to have to find somebody else that's going to lead and be your financial sponsor that wants to take on the personal guarantee. That's a big ask, but it's not impossible. Or you're going to have to just kind of team in and get consulting for equity deals until you get to your ready deal. And next, how much money do you have available for down payment? So if you have, a couple $100,000, $300,000, $500,000, most people don't, ready to go, that's great. So if you don't have that, let's say you have 25 or 50, but you're looking at a deal that requires $500,000, you're going to have to find other resources to do that and have that ready. Because if you go to main shares, they need some time. It always takes time to get the financial documents in together, the private placement memorandum, your pitch deck, and then they get the deal out to their investor networks, high net worth individuals, and they're going to look at it, think about it, have conversations, and you only have 90 days between the time you sign the LOI and when it's expired. So you got to be able to ready to have marshal those resources, whether it's your, it's your own money from your HELOC or from your IRA or your 401k or your uncle or whatever it is, to maybe going outside to mainshares.com. All right. So that is what I have seen in everybody that I've worked with in a lot of people come to my deal flow system. They buy the courses. They get stuck at certain areas. A lot of times is right at the front, which is, identifying the kind of business they want, going after it, and then marshaling resources to jump on it, the opportunity. This is what I see. If you get to a point of a good business, bad business, a lot of the people that drop out is like they keep looking at it. It's a bad business because they don't know the language of business. They can't tell a good deal from a bad deal, right? And then the big third one is raising the capital. Most people don't have $500,000 waiting to buy a business. Now, however, the 3% that I do see are usually coming from private equity. They're coming from somewhere else. Like a lot of the guys I've interviewed, private equity people, right? They're ready to go. They work for a hedge fund. They work for private equity. They have a lot of money. They have a lot of contacts, and they can raise stuff. Very interesting conversations with them. So I don't really have anything to sell you here, but you can go to dealflowsystem.net. I'm going to open our questions here. You can go to dealflowsystem.net. You can take your score. I have a little quiz. It's about 10, 15 questions long. It takes about 5 minutes. Just answer the questions, and I'll create a business buyer readiness scorecard for you, areas where you're weak and where you need to improve, and where we can help. So, having said that, I know I talk fast. I know I go through this fast, but this is what I found. Not only buying my own businesses, talking to 150, serial acquirers, and then talking to most coaches. The only coach I didn't talk to was Cody Sanchez. Cody and I have been friends for 6-7 years. I when I was working on a deal, I sent her a cannabis deal when she was working in the cannabis private equity, and she passed on it, but we've been friends since then. But she wanted to charge me $5,000 to get on my show, and I said, nah, not interested. Don't need to do that. This is where before she was really, really big. So I am going to open it up for questions, comments, and if anybody has anything, I think I'm going to ask you all to unmute. I don't know how to do that. Ask to unmute. Here we go. Everybody unmute. All right. If you have any questions, where are you stuck? Where you need help? Where you need resources? Where you need people? I have them. I have like 5 to 10 accountants that you can use. I have 5 to 10 attorneys that you can use. I have sources where you can raise capital. I have sources where you can work on your deal flow on and off market. All right. Mark, Anthony, Scott, anybody have any questions on this? That was 30 minutes too. Scott Barber, thanks for the show. He's the Gas Monkey Garage guy. All right. You're welcome, Scott. Just go to, if you want your score, take the quiz, go to dealflowsystem.net. And if you need any help, just reach out to me later. All right. Mark, you have any questions? All right, nobody has any questions, and I don't want to take any more time than need to. I wanted to launch Soheil's got a question. So I wanted to launch a search fund. I don't know very much about you, Soheil. I don't know where you come from. So some of this stuff may seem very, naive to you, or you already got it covered. I don't know what your background is. So if you're just wanting to go, I think a search fund is great. Go launch a search fund. Raising capital from people and getting commitment people usually requires you have an experience in that industry, investment management, investment banking, because you got to know the contacts. People are going to write $1 million, $2 million, $5 million checks. And that does take some time. I'm not saying it's impossible for you. I don't know your background. But if you've never done it before, you're just, you've never raised capital before, never raised any money before, it's going to be a tough no, because you got to find the right people. And then you're going to knock on their door and you're going to say, well, what's your experience? Have you made money for me? Have you made money for my friend that I know of? Have you bought and sold any businesses? If it's no, 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 okay, we'll pass. Come to me when you bought a business, sold it, and have some money to invest alongside of it. So I don't know, Sohail, where you're standing on that. All right, Mark, thank you very much. Guys, I said I'd do this in 30 minutes. I'm past it. It's 9:39. If you guys want to take off, I really appreciate the showing up at the show, and just take the quiz at dealflowsystem.net.
Hey,
all right,
John,
that's it. Oh yeah, who's this? Who's talking?
This is Anthony.
Okay.
Yeah, I was just curious as far as like if you had around like 25 to 40,000 cash to potentially buy a business, like what type or what I guess what the value of a business should you be looking at realistically to find if that's kind of what you've got available, and just kind of your thoughts on that, I guess.
So the first thing is, don't limit yourself by just what your resources are. That's what I want to say. Now, the second part is, what's your background? Have you been in e-commerce businesses before? Have you been in HVAC? Have you been in accounting? What kind of businesses have you been in?
I'm retired from the military, and and I have an HR background, and then I worked in aviation as well. So.
Oh, cool. Thanks for your service. Yeah. So what kind of business do you want to buy?
I was just really kind of looking into it and just seeing, I thought a service business would be a good way to go. But just kind of looking into this and seeing if this is something that would be possible, to be honest with you, and kind of go from there.
Yeah. So for my suggestion is to go to BizBuySell or go to Cairo Data's scraping tool and start looking for businesses with an income that you are attracted to, and usually go up a little bit, because the higher you go, the less risky the business is. That means they've been around for a while and they figured out the processes and systems. Now, find a business that you like the net income on. Let's say it's $250,000 a year. Look at the business and go, can I do that? Is it easy to understand? What's the process of that business? Is it a need business? Like, is it installing? Is it an HR business? And I got it. I understand the HR industry. Investors are more likely to give you money if you have direct experience in that industry.
Okay.
And the higher you go up, like if you go up to 250,000 net to 500,000 net, they're more likely to invest in your business because you have experience in the industry, and because the cash flow usually signifies that there's less risk in the business.
Okay. And then as far as when you're buying it too, I guess the other concern I always have or thinking about too is with the money that I do have, and then having the capital to operate the business, and that's all part of it. And you can get financing for that as well, essentially, to make sure that you have enough capital in the bank to cover payroll and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, so working capital is usually included in the sale of the business, because the working capital is the lifeblood of the business. You can't take my blood out, the 8, pints, and I'm going to live. Working capital needs to stay in. That's a little bit of education with the seller and the broker. Make sure there's sufficient amount of working capital stays in. If they're stuck on that point and they go, no, I want to take all the cash flow out, which is the working capital, then you'll need to replace it with the SBA loan. Just tack it on the top. I'm not particularly fond of that, because at the interest rates right now, you're adding a couple $100,000 on 11% interest over 10 years. That usually doubles the amount of working capital that you got to pay back.
Okay, that makes sense. I appreciate your information.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. Reach out to me, Anthony, afterwards. Happy to help answer any more questions. Sohail, thanks for joining us. Again, I don't know anything about your background. I'm not saying you can't do it, but get onto searchfunder.com and start asking how those other groups do it. Get some informational interviews with these guys. Goes, how did you do it? All right, guys, that's it. I said 30 minutes. I'm past 9:44. I'll have this recording out pretty soon. Thank you.